What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Dad Needs to Talk. I'm your host, Robert, and today we're gonna be catching up on just a few things. Primarily some of the TV shows and movies I've been watching this past month. So I hope everybody out there is staying warm. So another reason why I was like, you know what? Been in the house for a few days, which we'll touch on this in a minute, but I was like, I need to record. So, as always, if this is your first time here, then welcome. But if you're a returning listener and or watcher, then welcome back. Y'all know here at Daddy's Talk, it's all about fatherhood and family, manga, anime, TV shows, movies, and of course, some video games. So, like I said, man, like we are now pretty much in our yearly ice lockdown, snowstorm, whatever you want to call it. Um, I guess pretty much since what, like 2021, 22, something like that. So it's like, hey, at the end of January, beginning of February, somewhere in that time frame, we're gonna be out of work or school for a couple of days. Cause like when on Friday, I didn't even go all the way out to the office or whatever, because I ended up having a project at a clinic to take care of near my house. And so by the time I finished with that, I was like, ain't no point in me driving all the way out to Dallas, just probably turn back around in a few hours. So just kind of stayed more on my side of town. Got the kids from school early Friday, and yeah, and they're gonna be out of school until Wednesday. So they immediately before school day was over Friday announced Monday was shut down, and then earlier today they put out the notification like they're gonna be closed on Tuesday as well. So yeah, so those of y'all out there, stay safe, stay warm. Uh, yeah, we're just hunkered down. Everybody just been chilling the last couple of days, watching TV, playing video games, all that fun stuff, eating. but uh, but yeah, so here we are. So, like I said, this episode I'm primarily gonna be touching on movies and TV shows I've been watching over the course of this month to start the year off. And I have some game stuff I'm gonna talk about, but I think I'm gonna wait until either later this week or maybe next week to talk about that because uh, I still want to finish the last two episodes of Dispatch. I beat uh, Is This Seat Taken, which that was a very nice and wholesome little puzzle game. It was perfect to play a couple little puzzles every night before I went to bed. Um, I'm currently playing this game called uh, Ever After Inc. It's pretty much kind of like a Paper Mario style game that just came out Friday. So I decided to pick it up, and I've been enjoying it, playing through it and stuff. It kind of deals with a lot of characters from different like fairy tale stories and stuff kind of like mixed into one, because basically there's like this corporation that basically is taking these characters from the different stories, whatever. And so you play as a character from one of these stories, and you're traveling around and actually going into the different storybooks, fighting enemies and stuff, whatever. Because, like, prime example, I just finished the Three Little Pigs story. So I had to fight the Three Little Pigs, and the Big Bad Wolf ended up on my team. So just fun little cute stuff. And currently, I'm in kind of like this like spooky uh, level where I'm trying to track down Sherlock Holmes. But yeah, so that's been very fun to kind of chip away at these last couple of days. And you know what? Since I'm already here, I said I wasn't gonna talk about much game stuff, but screw it, I'm already here. So going back a step, um, talking about, or I guess I'm already on it. So let me just go ahead and just finish talking about Ever After Inc. So, like I mentioned, this game. Let me see, where is it at? Escape from Ever After. That's the proper name for it. Uh, So yeah, like I said, it is a game that plays kind of like a Paper Mario style game. So kind of just like a adventure, uh, turn-based RPG type of game. And it has been super fun. So this game is on pretty much every platform. And so I was kind of struggling between what platform to get it on, but decided to go with Switch 2 just because I was like, you know what, this will definitely be a game that I want to play, wherever I might be at, whether it's in bed or moving around the house, if I'm out traveling somewhere with the kid, with the family and stuff, whatever. So that's the platform I went with. Though I almost got it on PS5 because I was like, ooh, maybe some nice trophies. But from my understanding, the game isn't like super long, but I've already put in maybe 3 or so hours into it, and so yeah, it's been, like I said, pretty fun to play. So yeah, so going back a step to um, is this seat taken? Sorry, I'm trying to navigate this site because I'm still trying to get used to it. So yeah, so is this seat taken? Like I said, it is a puzzle game, and so pretty much you have these little different shaped characters that you are picking up and kind of moving around, and so pretty much you're given a scenario. So let's say, for example, uh, these characters are on a bus. And so each of the different characters will have different preferences or whatever. So some of them might just be as simple as, hey, I want to sit next to a window. Some of them might be like, hey, I want to I want to sleep, don't like loud sounds. And then you have another character that's like, hey, I love playing loud music or whatever. So it's like clearly you don't want those two characters sitting next to each other. And so that's kind of the basic core of the game. And so you have different scenarios, like I said, from them being on a bus to at a sporting arena to a movie theater. So it could be like for the movie theater, like, oh, I want to sit, in the middle of the theater, or hey, I have bad eyesight, I can't see from far, so clearly, okay, they probably want to be in the front row. Uh, hey, I don't want to sit on a dirty seat, so make sure you don't put them on a seat that's already got popcorn trash and stuff on it. So, but yeah, like I said, this was just like a very fun game. Uh, they gave just enough challenge throughout it to where it kind of made me think, and that was, like I said, very nice to do as I'm unwinding for the day, to kind of like play through a couple of levels and kind of like get my brain going a little bit, or exercise my brain, I should say, before going to bed. So yeah, it was just nice, just like playing through it. And I loved that it's fully touchscreen on the Switch and stuff. So I literally was like laying in bed, had my Switch 2 on my chest with the little kickstand, so I can just be on my chest, and I'm just on my chest, just clicking and dragging the characters around and stuff. So, but yeah, that was like a very peaceful one that I chipped away at over the course of probably like a week and some change, maybe. Um, but yeah, so shout out to Is This Seat Taken? And like I said, the other one was Escape from Ever After. So, like I said, there's other games and stuff coming up on the horizon soon that I know people are going to be ready to, look forward to and to play. Um, Let me see, does this thing have a calendar? Let's see. Release dates. Let me look at this real quick. Okay, so just very quickly before I move on to the movies and stuff, yeah, so gaming wise, so another game that came out recently called Mio Memories in Orbit. It's kind of like a Metroidvania game, kind of like a Hollow Knight type of game. That came out last week. That I was kind of debating about almost getting that, but I was like, nah, I'm not really in the mood for that yet. Big one that's kind of got a lot of people kind of like interested to see if it's going to be a want to play or want to, gonna flop or whatever. But High Guard, comes out tomorrow, which by the time y'all listen to this, it'll already be out. We'll see. It's gonna be free to play, so no excuse for people that are curious about it. Download it and try it yourself. So I might give it a try myself, and later in the week or next week when I do that gaming focused one, might talk about that a bit more on there possibly. um, yeah, ain't nothing else too much for this month on my radar. And then early February, Dragon Quest 7 Reimagined, Neo 3, that Romeo is a Dead Man game, looks wild. That Yakuza Kiwami 3 and Dark Ties is coming out in a few weeks. Reanimal, that new kind of like spooky co-op puzzle game from the people who did Little Nightmares, that's coming out. There's a demo for that out right now. I played a little bit of it, didn't finish it, but that's coming. That's mainly it. And then Resident Evil Requiem coming out at the end of February. My oldest son, he's playing through Village right now, so yeah. So all right, we'll talk more of that stuff soon. You know what? Screw it. I'm already here. Just a couple quick things I'll mention. Marathon got a release date of March 5th. So we have a firm date from that. Very curious to actually try that myself. Just for the gameplay wise. I don't know. Not much into whatchamacallit, extraction and multiplayer heavy games, whatever, but man, it just looks so cool. They did a Vidoc recently where like they showed a lot more of all the different characters and classes and stuff, whatever, and it was like, man, these look so cool. But it's not my type of game, but we'll see. There was also that developer direct, which I guess I can kind of touch on a couple of things from that. Now, majority of that stuff don't care about. Like, I don't care about Forza too much. I'm not much into racing cars, but hey, cool that it's coming out in May and it's going to be set in Japan. So this is Forza Horizon 6, I believe. They showed off some new like multiplayer game where you're just like playing as like clay pots from Double Fine. Don't care. Now that new game from from Game Freak, that new action game. Shoot, what is it called? Beast. I think it's like Beast of Reincarnation. Beast of not East. Beast. Beast of Reincarnation. Come on now, autofill. Thank you. Beast of Reincarnation. Now, we got to see a good little chunk of this the other day at the Developer Direct, and it looks really cool. Let me see if I can get it pulled up real quick. Alright, so pretty much the game is coming out sometime this summer. Like I said, it's called Beast of Reincarnation. It's a post-apocalyptic action RPG from the Pokemon developers, Game Freak. Now, from watching the gameplay and stuff of it or whatever, it kind of reminds me a little bit, kind of like a mix between like Horizon and like what's that game? Stellar Blade type of like action open world game. And the Horizon comparison is because you're dealing with a lot of like creatures in the world, animals and stuff, but they, instead of like in Horizon them being taken over by like, or being like machinery animals, they're all like kind of like plant like versions of different animals and stuff. But looked really cool. Looked like something be right up my alley. We'll see. But yeah, it's coming out this summer for PS5, Xbox, and PC. So So yeah, so that's definitely on my radar. And then the last thing that was also from the developer direct that I am more interested in now than I was previously, and that would be Fable. So myself personally, I've never really played a Fable game. I've seen them played, because I think Fable 3 came out back when I was in college. And I'll never forget because it came out the same day. It was like Fable 3, Rock Band 3, and what else was it? I feel like it was like 3 games. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, yeah. So it was October 26th, 2010, and it was Fable 3, Rock Band 3, and Star Wars Force Unleashed 2. And the reason why I'm laughing, side tangent, side story, Gooch, my buddy Gooch, if you listen to this, you already know what I'm about to say with this, but I'm laughing because I'll never forget. We had one of our buddies we went to college with named Danny. He was super hype for Force Unleashed 2. So he got it on release night, or release weekend, whatever it was. And I'll never forget because we were all over at my buddy at Gooch, them dorm and stuff, whatever, hanging out and talking. And during the couple of hours that we were there, he beat and played through the whole game, if I'm remembering that correctly. And he was pissed off. He was like, "What? That's it? It's over already?" But yeah, so just memorable times with that release window. But yeah, so so going back to Fable, the new one. So Fable, this new one is developed by Playground Games, which is the same team that does the Forza Horizon games. So funny enough, they got 2 games coming out this year, but the game looks super cool. They did like an extensive, like 10+ minute uh, show off of the game, all the different systems. You can customize your character, uh, fully open world, and all this different stuff. The attacking, all this stuff. You can talk to all the NPCs. You can romance any of them. You can have children with the NPCs. All this different stuff. So looks very cool. It's definitely on my radar now. I don't know if it'll be like a day one purchase and pickup for me, but it's definitely on my radar. And they immediately announced it. They're like, hey, it's coming to, you know, Xbox, PC, and PS5 all later this year. So cool beans. The new Fable is now on my radar at least. We'll see if I end up going through and actually buying it and stuff, but I'll say that it definitely looked good though, at least. Now, other quick thing I want to just shout out before I get into the shows and stuff. I decided to treat myself, as I tend to say at the end of every episode or whatever, because I just been in the manga reading mood lately. And so, first of all, I caught up on The Witch and the Mercenary. I hadn't read it in a year, so I had about maybe 20 to 30 chapters because they're on chapter 61, and I last read it like chapter 33, 34. So I had close to 30 chapters to read, blazed through it in this past week. And so I'm like, damn it, now I'm caught back up. And it's a monthly release manga, so I'm like, crap. So, but yeah, very good. Glad to be back in that world. But saying all that to say, after I finished reading another manga called the what is it called, the Kept Man of the Princess Knight, something like that, which I already read, what, 3 volumes worth of that, recorded all that stuff, whatever. I just ain't put it out yet. I probably put that out beginning of February. But looking for other stuff to read. And I came across this manga named Silence. Because I'm trying to think, did I see it at the store? I believe. I think, I think I had picked it up when I was at. Yes. Because I was at Barnes and Nobles and just kind of looking around as I tend to do, and it caught my attention, and I was like, because I saw this cover, Silence, and I was like, okay, so I went home. Shout out to Google Play Books. I use that all the time. If it's not me buying digitally, I will read their free samples. And so they had like several pages of this to read, and I was like, yep, sold. But I was like, crap. I was like, you know what? I'll just buy digitally. That's what I've been doing or whatever. The digital price for this was pretty much like only $1 cheaper than physical. And I'm like, man, I might as well just buy a physical for if it's only $1 difference. But on Amazon, they had a sale where like this first volume I think was like $6, and then the second volume was maybe like a discounted price as well. So I almost got all four that are out, but I was like, no, I'm gonna start with a couple, then go from there. So yeah, so Silence. It is actually a French manga, which is another reason why it caught my attention because the couple that I've read, like shout out to the one of the OGs for me from that region, Radiant, and then also where is it at? I don't have it close by, but there's one called like the. Let me see if I can find it real quick. So I know I got it close. I think. Yeah, it was called Tali, Daughter of the Moon. Yeah, this is one. Had this one for a while. But anywho, typically a lot of the manga from that region catches my eye because of like the art style and stuff that they have. So anywho, so just want to say all that to say I picked up the first couple volumes, so I plan on reading these soon and giving some thoughts and stuff. So, but yeah, just want to like I said, treat myself a little bit. I hadn't got nothing like that in a while, but definitely enjoyed the little bits that I had already read. So now let's go ahead and start diving into some of these shows and movies that I've been watching lately. All right, so I'm gonna kind of just go through these in the order in which I kind of watched them, more or less. Um, and yeah, so I'm gonna start off with Train Dreams. So this is a movie that came out sometime last year, and I think I remember it coming across my radar at some point in time, but I didn't pay too much attention to what it was about. Well, it got onto Netflix over the holiday break, and funny enough, I ended up watching this the night leading into my birthday on January 6th. And so, kind of going into it, all I kind of knew about it was the type of movie that you should watch when you have time to just kind of just like lock in, tune everything else out or whatever. And it really was that type of movie. So it pretty much has a overall somber tone because it follows this guy who was a logger in the early 20th century. So, just a simple man working, cutting down trees and stuff, whatever. And it kind of just like follows his life journey from, you know, a young adult through his life to the end. And I don't know, like I said, it was kind of a movie that was kind of fitting to watch in a way as, New Year starting. I'm rolling over into my birthday, turning 36 this year. And I don't know, like I said, it's a simple movie overall, but impactful at the same time because watching this guy's life journey through the triumphs and the heartbreak of different events and things that happen. It is shot very beautifully, especially like I said, like with it being the time period it is, lots of wilderness and stuff. Like it is like some very dope camera shots and stuff. in this movie. But yeah, just seeing this guy just kind of living his life, finding a purpose in his work, then falling in love, having a family, dealing with some tragedies and stuff along the way, and then finding a way to try to continue beyond that tragedy. But it's also a movie that kind of illustrates the passage of time, of how no matter what you're going through, life still goes on. Everything else around you still goes on, no matter how tough of a situation you're in, what you're dealing with, grieving, whatever the case may be, whatever other stuff, the world and life still continues to push on. And that is the basic message of this movie to me. Um, it's just that, man, like we're going to encounter a lot of different bumps in the road and hardships and stuff, but there is happiness and joy to be found along the way. But yeah, like I said, Train Dreams out on Netflix now, so check that out. Now let's see. Next thing on my list. Uh where is okay. This one I kind of just want to get out the way. Um and this will be very quick what I gotta say about this one. So this was a anime movie I went to go watch last week called All You Need Is Kill. Now, I did not realize before going into this movie that this is basically um what is that movie? What is the movie and book franchise called? Let me find it real quick for y'all. So, okay. So it's based off of pretty much that series. There was a live action many years ago called Edge of Tomorrow. And yeah, so it is basically just a couple of characters that are stuck in a time loop situation where it was like a alien thing came from the sky. They're trying to figure it out. They're working on it, and the main character, she's stuck in a loop where she is constantly repeating the same day and trying to figure out how to bypass it and all this stuff. Now, I'll say visually, movie was solid. You know, very very cool art style, very very colorful. But I dozed off in this movie a few times, and at first I was like, man, like am I just tired? You know, because like I've been busy lately. I'm like, man, maybe I'm just tired or whatever. But then there'll be like a interesting part of the movie. I'm wide awake, but then it goes back to the same mundane stuff, and I'm dozing off again. I was like, oh yeah, no. last movie I dozed off on in the theater was the freaking Borderlands movie that came out a couple years ago. So yeah, so luckily I didn't pay too much money to go see that. I think maybe paid a couple bucks tops, but yeah, definitely one where I'm like, yeah, I kind of wish I didn't waste my money and waste my time, but you know, it happens. All right, next up, now let's see. Let me dive back over into what do I want to do? All right, let's go to another movie that was the complete opposite of that one. Now, this is a movie that I was anticipating getting to watch for a long time because they kept teasing us about like, oh yeah, it was it's out overseas or it was out at this festival, then out overseas in some places, then okay, very limited release and only a couple of theaters. Then like it finally came to DFW, but the closest theater was like 30 minutes away, which hey, I drive farther than that for work sometimes, but I was like, I don't know, especially because it was like almost 2.5 hour movie. But finally, it came to a theater down the road, and that is No Other Choice. Now, this is one directed by Park Chan Wook, and the main character in it, he plays as the black mask dude in Squid Games, and so pretty much the story of this movie, or the premise behind it, is that it follows this guy who gets laid off from his job and, humiliated in a sense, and pretty much he ends up plotting out a way to take out the competition for this new job he is going for. And it kind of gives me, or gave me, the same vibes as when I watched Parasite that came out in 2019. And I've talked about it before on the podcast, but it's like that movie was good in general, but I had the most perfect and ideal situation, which I did not know at the time, but that was one of the last movies I saw in theater before COVID lockdown happened. And I'll never forget, because it was like early part of the year. I decided to finally go watch the movie, and I watched it. It was like during the day. I was the only person in the theater. I think maybe it was one other person, but I think might have been maybe the only person in the theater. And I remember just like the vibe of just being fully locked into that movie. Everybody else, nothing else in the world surrounding me mattered. That's how engrossed I was in that movie. And I kind of had a similar vibe with No Other Choice. Now, granted, there was a couple of people sitting a few seats over for me that kind of ruined my periphery vision, but this movie had me laughing at times, had me shocked at the absurdity of what I'm seeing on the screen at times. But all in all, very good, very fun movie. Definitely did not feel like it was as long as it was, which is a good thing, because like I said, it was almost 2.5 hours. But the fact that I didn't really even feel that by the time it was over with, where I was like, yep, that was a good movie, pretty much from start to finish. Um, and yeah, so shout out to another choice. Like I said, the wait to watch that one was definitely worth it, because it was a super long wait for it. All right, next up, let's see. Hold on. Okay, this next one. All right, this next one I'm gonna talk about was a TV series that took social media by storm for the last week and some change, to where even my daughters watched it, or at least one of my daughters watched it, at her friend's house. And that is the current Netflix hit, His and Hers. Now, this is one where I immediately knew it was going to be a banger, just off of the fact that it's starring two of my favorite people to watch on TV, Miss Tessa Thompson and Mr. John Bernthal. And not only are they in this together as co-leads, but it is a drama thriller, which is one of my favorite uh, type of shows, movies, and stuff, to genres to consume. So I'm like, oh, these two together in a thriller? Hell yeah. And it did not disappoint. And now, at first going into it, I'm like, man, it's only, what was it, like 6, 8 episodes, something like that? What was it? Hold on, let me see if it says here. Does it say? No, it doesn't say how many on there. But anywho, it was listed as a short run series. And so it's like, man, like I don't know about that, but I have faith, and they did not disappoint. So the crux of this is that there is a murder that happens, and it is a small town murder, which, as somebody from a small town that that ended up over my lifetime deal with a couple of murders that went international. Um, I really felt this because it's a situation where it's a small town, everybody knows everybody, and one thing I will say up front with this movie, that just kind of like fully locked me in. Like I said, I was already interested, but there was a reveal that Tessa and John are actually married. And the way it's revealed, I was like, oh yeah, yeah, we locked in. Now, throughout the whole course of watching this, and when we got to the end, I never guessed who the killer was, because there were so many points where it was misdirection after misdirection after misdirection after misdirections, where it's like, oh, okay, yep, it's clearly this person. Nope, it's clearly that person. Yep, got him nailed. Case solved. And then even when you think, hey, this case is closed, then it's like, okay, there's still a bit of chunk of time left in this final episode. Okay, let's see what the wrap up is, and then the reveal of who it is. It was like, okay, and then I love thinking of it of there is a scene from one of my favorite shows that I watched back in the day called Person of Interest, where it was like a person watching a person watch a person, to where it was like two people meet in this church or whatever to discuss something. So, the first person sitting there, somebody come and sit behind them, and then they come and pull a gun on the person in front of them. Then somebody else pop up, pulls a gun on that person, and then it zooms out and reveals there's somebody up in the balcony of the church with a sniper rifle on the last person. So that I always think about in situations like this, where, you know, we had a moment in the first episode where we see somebody watching something else do something like, oh, okay. But then you learn some other stuff, whatever, and then by the end, it's like this person was watching a person that was watching a person watch something. And so, yeah. But all in all, man, I really loved this uh, show. Super good. I would love to see these two in more things together. Now, I will say, let me see if I can find it real quick. Okay. So, I got to give a shout out to a young lady named Kristen Maxwell. She played the younger version of Tessa Thompson's character in this show. And so, like, honestly, like, it's crazy how much alike she looks like Tessa. Cause like when they went into the flashbacks and we're seeing her, like everything from like the lips to the facial structure to the facial mannerisms. That's what I was trying to think of. Like she was nailing all that. So I'm like did they do like a you know de-aging technique or whatever on Tessa? Because I'm like, this looks just like her. And even like I said, like a lot of like her mannerisms and stuff, whatever, she was knocking down to a T. And then I researched it or whatever. I was like, whoa, okay, now this is a totally separate person or whatever. And yeah, so and shout out to this for this by far my most popular probably social media post I've ever done. And it's barely nothing. It's only like 2.4 thousand likes, but that's way more traffic, and I think it's gotten like how much activity? A lot of activity is 25,000 views, way more than anything I've ever had to deal with. But yeah, so shout out to that young lady. Like I said, she really knocked that role out the park, to say the least. All right, so I have just a couple of other things I wanted to touch on really quickly before I get up out of here. Okay, now this next one was one I purely watched just straight up on a whim. So it is a kind of like a like noir drama series with some sprinkles of sci-fi called Sugar. It was on Apple TV. It stars Colin Farrell. And I didn't know what to think of this going in. And so now I will say like there is going to be a season 2 of this, whatever, which I found out after the fact because I'm like, this should have been, I feel like, just a solid one and done season. But it's hard to talk about without spoiling stuff. But I'll just kind of speak in general to where Colin Farrell's character is this private investigator, private detective named John Sugar. Super basic name, you think. But he is very good at what he does. He specializes in finding missing person cases. And so he gets hired by this wealthy Hollywood producer named Jonathan Siegel to find his granddaughter that's gone missing. And so during this case, it ends up leading to a lot of like discovery of like other secrets that that family's got going on. But then also some kind of like weird stuff surrounding the organization that Sugar works for. And so when the reveal happens, it is like, what? Because, like I said, so it has like a noir vibe to it where there are these moments where it's kind of like black and white and he's kind of like self monologuing and stuff. And it just seems very weird, but in a way that's like, I kind of want to see what the heck is going on. And then there's like a moment where he's in a very tight spot and somebody shoots a bullet at him and he deflects the bullet. And then it's like these like quick jump flash cuts where he's fighting, beating up people. And you're like, am I tripping? Or, and then there's a reveal, which, hey, I gotta say, just mild spoilers. Very, very quick spoilers. Spoilers. He's an alien. Him and his, of his crew, they are aliens. Their organization, they are aliens. And they've been hiding in society and all this stuff for all these years. And the reason why all this stuff is going on is because somebody found out their secret, blackmailing, all this stuff, whatever. So, spoilers over now. But yeah. So when that happened, it was like, what? But like I said, it's kind of like, and like I said, it kind of makes sense why stuff seemed a little weird and a little bit off throughout the whole TV show. But I'm not mad at it. Like I said, not the best thing I've ever watched, but it was intriguing enough. Oh, it was 16 episodes. That's what it was. It was intriguing enough to where it kept me along the whole way. So yeah, Sugar. All right, and last show I'm gonna touch on, I believe. Let me double check my list. Hijack, the show starring Idris Elba on Apple TV. So I finally watched season 1 about a week or so ago, and I really enjoyed it. So this was one that I've been hip to Apple TV for the last couple of years, ever since I've discovered like obviously Severance and then Silo and then Dark Matter, Slow Horses I talked about a couple months ago. So, of course I've seen Hijack around and stuff, whatever. And I've always been like, I don't know, show about plane jacking, don't know. Obviously, season 2 is on the way, and it's already started by now, but it was looming on the horizon. And so I still had a little bit of time on my Apple TV subscription, and so I was like, screw it, I got a few days left on this. Let me just watch an episode and just see. I should, I'm sorry, Mr. Elba. I should have never doubted you, but they hooked me after that first episode, and I was like, damn it, I'm in. But yeah, so like I said, Hijack on Apple TV follows Idris Elba's character, whose name is Sam Nelson, who is a expert negotiator. So he is somebody that companies, executives, and stuff bring him in whenever they need to close a deal or negotiate something, whatever. He's the guy. So he's on the plane traveling back home trying to get to his family when the plane he's on gets hijacked and taken over. And so it is very interesting seeing how they navigate that situation, all the other surrounding parts, as far as like the parts that are happening on the ground, both with people related to Sam, people related to the hijackers, and everything in between. So it was very dope, very brutal, more brutal than I thought it would be, whatever, especially like that, you know, that whole family got taken out or whatever. But yeah, it was some good stuff. Now, I'm trying to think. I feel like those, like the first like four or so episodes were super strong. Because I'm trying to think. I think it was it 8 episodes total? Let's see. Whoops. Let me double check real quick. Come on, give me the show. Hijack. Yeah, it was 7 episodes. So yeah, so the first 4 episodes for sure strong. 5 was solid. I can't remember if it was. I think it might have been like part of 6 where it kind of dipped a little bit, but still stayed pretty solid. And then you know they made a safe landing. But I do feel like there could have been a little bit more at the end of that season finale, especially concerning the family stuff, whatever. But now here we are, season 2, and the first episode was solid. It dragged me in, liked the little twist on, how they're doing the hijacking situation, whatever. But I don't know, like the second episode, I'm I've like pressed play on it several days in a row or several times, watch a couple minutes, whatever, and then just stop and go and do something else, whatever. So I don't know. It's just not like it's not hooking me yet as immediately as the first season did. So we'll see. This might be one. Maybe I might just let go for now and come back, and check it out when it's all said and done. So, but we'll see how things kind of go with that as it's airing. So, last little things I'll kind of touch on. Oh, I finished season 1 of For All Mankind, also on Apple TV. Now that one, I can't go through as fast as I would love to, because man, them episodes are like roughly averaging like an hour a piece. Some of them an hour 15 or longer and stuff. So, but it deals with sci-fi and space travel stuff, man. So I made a post after I finished season 1, being like, man, this is just live action Space Brothers, which y'all know how much I love that anime a few years ago when I watched it for the first time. This gives me a lot of similar vibes just due to like the surrounding drama of the astronauts and their families and different stuff related to all that stuff, the political side of things and everything in between. So, but yeah, it's been very cool to watch. Let me see. For All Mankind, is there anything on there for this? It's got the books, but I'm not interested in the books. But anywho, anywho, good series. Really enjoying it. I'm already halfway through season 2, just slowly going through, checking away at it or whatever. I like I said, I just love just this like alternate reality version of stuff where they're at now in season 2, like they already have a whole base built on the moon, and there's like multiple astronauts up there, and now they're mining stuff and getting ready, like they're trying to build towards eventually going to Mars, which I think that might be what I think season 4 or 5 is coming up. And I saw a poster of it, and I was like, ooh, I want to know how they got there. But yeah, so that's been really good. Uh I want to also just mention briefly in passing the Night of the Seven Kingdoms, the new Game of Thrones spinoff series or whatever. I couldn't even finish that first episode because like it's more of a comedy type of show that they seem to be going for, and I was like, yeah, I am just not feeling this, whatever. Like, and like I said, I didn't even finish that first episode, so who knows? Maybe I might circle back, give it another shot, but right now I'm just not feeling it at all. So, but aside from that, that's pretty much it for stuff I've been watching lately, reading, etc. Um, so hope y'all enjoyed. I do want to just give a quick little shout out to there was a new manga that started today. Come on, Shonen Jump. Called Under Doctor. Now, this is one solid first chapter, so I'm gonna keep my eyes up on it. But basically, it is a about a assassin who turns into a doctor, and so it was a very cool, fun first chapter. So I'm gonna stick with it and see how it goes for these next couple of chapters to see if this is one I might follow week to week or might be one I let build up and check back in later. Who knows? But just want to mention this real quick to put on people's radar as one of the kind of like newer series to start off the year. But yeah. Aside from that, let's get up out of here. It's a little bit after midnight, and we'll see what this week holds. Because like I said, the kids are out of school Monday and Tuesday. I'm probably not gonna be able to go to work tomorrow myself. At least not going in person. I can do stuff online, but I ain't gonna be able to make my way to the office, whatever, just because don't know how the roads and stuff are gonna be tomorrow. But maybe by Tuesday I'll be back at the house and stuff. So, um, yeah, I think that's it. So, last something I just mentioned too. I finally invested in a portable little tire pump. Just because with my family we have a couple of vehicles, and we're always on the go and stuff. And now, while I am very fortunate to live near several quick trips and stuff where they have free air, a lot of times it's not the ideal situation to where it's like, crap, I really need to get air, but then it's like a super long line to try to get it and different stuff. And so it's like, you know what if I just have this and just test it and see? And I tested it, whatever, on a couple of my cars, and hey, it worked just fine or whatever and stuff. So you can charge it up in your car, you can plug it up to the cigarette lighter and use it while it's plugged up that way. But anywho, just wanted to shout that out real quick. But let me get up out of here. Uh as always, thank you so much for watching and or listening. Man, it's kind of crazy to believe that we're almost at the end of January, but like I said at the top, I hope y'all are out there staying safe, staying warm, and as I always say, treat yourself to something nice, read some manga, watch some anime, TV shows, movies, play some video games, and of course, live your best life. And with that, I am out. I'm about to go snuggle up under these covers and chill out. But y'all have a awesome day and week, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. Y'all be easy. Peace.